Hello everyone and welcome to another Rich Alvarez stream. I am Rich Alvarez. Be weird if I wasn't. Anyways, this is going to be just a quick, casual, just chatting stream, and by quick I mean it'll be like 30 to 45 minutes. Just wanted to check in with everybody, see how everybody's doing. I do have a poll going in chat here. What Final Fantasy game should I play when I'm finished with Final Fantasy VIII? Your options are Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy X. Assuming that Final Fantasy VII is the winner, then we will decide if I'm playing the original or the remake. But it looks like Final Fantasy... Oh, well, now it's shifted to Final Fantasy VII. Seems like Final Fantasy X was winning there for a minute. I just thought I would do a poll because I was just going to play Final Fantasy X when I was done with 8 because it seemed like that's what everybody wanted me to play. I do think that Final Fantasy X is a little bit more accessible since there's voice acting, there's, better graphics, because, it was originally on the PS2 and then has been updated to HD in the years since. It's gotten, major upgrades. And then Final Fantasy VII, it's like I could just play the base PlayStation version, or I could play the remake, which, as many of you guys know, is kind of a completely different game, but that's what we're dealing with right now. Anyways, several things. So I played Final Fantasy VIII for 3.5 hours yesterday. I made a lot of progress. I felt like I owed it to you guys after not playing the game for months. And so I, just really wanted to play it. It's one of my favorite games ever. Anyway, so I do plan on playing it again tonight at about 4:30 Pacific Standard Time, or in about 2 hours. And so I also just wanted to kind of get a stream in now. Anyways, this is a just chatting stream. So, the basics of that are you can just ask me anything you want, and I may or may not answer it. And we're just hanging out. Thank you to, let's see who's in the chat right now. Thank you to Nacho Taco, Make a Shadow, Daniel, Sun Goku, Sandy Brown, AJ, Amanda, and Stereo Gamers. Stereo says, do you recommend a walkthrough for FF8 if I'm playing it for the first time? Well, you could start my Let's Plays from the first Let's Play to kind of figure out what to do. But yeah, if you aren't super familiar with Final Fantasy games, you can use a walkthrough if you think it'll help you kind of ease through the game a little bit. I always recommend not using a walkthrough your first time, just to kind of like explore and kind of figure things out on your own, and then on your second playthrough, use a walkthrough if you want to do like a completionist run. I know, that's how I usually have fun with role-playing games specifically, because I feel like a walkthrough is kind of just like ruining the experience of exploring and kind of figuring things out and discovering things on your own. But if you're the kind of person that gets frustrated with trying to do that on your own, then yeah, use a walkthrough. But I recommend not using one for your first playthrough. Anyways, Stereo says I've played 1 through 7, but 8 is so much different. It is different. I mean, if anybody who's been watching my Let's Plays knows, the junction system is quite complicated because you draw magic and then you attach it to different things: status attack, status defense, elemental attack, elemental defense, and then you junction magic to individual, strength, HP, vitality, evasion. You basically can go crazy with the way that you customize your character via magic junction, which is one of the reasons why Final Fantasy is one of my favorites, but it's another reason why a lot of Final Fantasy fans don't like it, because they basically turned it into Dungeons and Dragons. But I love Dungeons and Dragons, so I like things to be overly complicated. So, anyways, I've been really enjoying it. I think that is I think that it's really good. Sankaku says, I bought a guide for FF8 at a library for 25 cents a few years ago. I played it a bit on Steam, but really want to play it on Switch or PS4 someday, but the Steam music is awful for some reason. Yeah, the Steam, so if you're getting the Steam version, it's it's the PC version from 1998 or 1999. And it just has the weird MIDI sounds and it looks terrible. That's why I recommend, if you are playing on computer, you get what I've been playing on, which is Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. A year or so ago, they released FF8 Remastered, which doesn't really update the game that much, but it basically gives PC players the PlayStation game with some fresh sprites. Like, obviously the faces and everything look a little bit better than they did on the PlayStation, but essentially what you want to go with is the remastered version if you're playing on PC. Mega Shadow says, can we ever expect new non-live stream videos again? Expect them? I don't know. It's actually something that we've been talking about. One of the big things that's hard for us as adults is it's different than when we were in high school and in college, where we could just kind of get our friends together on a whim and do a season of Stupid Mario Brothers in a couple of weeks. That was the challenge that we went through when we filmed things like Elwood or even Poor Life of Rich. And Poor Life of Rich should have been easier. It was just here at home. But those kinds of things, it's hard to incentivize friends and people to work on a show with you when they're really not getting paid. It can become time. There's a lot of time, and it's not. We're just not there yet. Like, if we were ever going to do a bigger project, you guys would know about it when we would feel ready to unveil something like that. But it is something that I've been thinking about, but it's not something that we have planned right now. Scott Otter is here. Scott Otter says, there isn't a spot on this poll for Sonic 2 on Sega Genesis. Nope, I'm sorry, Scott. Your options are Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X. That is, those are your only two options. So, anyways, let's see what's winning right now. Right now, we have Final Fantasy VII slightly ahead of Final Fantasy X with 53% of the votes. Also, as Chris would want me to tell you, we only have 9 likes on this video right now. Let's get those rookie numbers up by liking this video. So everybody, please like this video. It's for the good of your health and mine. Hey Scott, since I have you on the stream, do you have any exciting questions for me, or are you just going to ask me about Sonic games? Marty Man is here and says, I loved Final Fantasy, or I voted Final Fantasy VII. Well, I assume you loved it too. Mega Setter says, we should get a Super Mario Brothers interactive adventure gameplay LMAO. Oh, like we actually go through, like, I feel like, actually, I don't even know if we've ever done that. Have we ever live streamed me and Chris going through the interactive adventure? Let me know, because if we haven't done that, We should probably do that at some point. Amanda says, favorite game to stream? Well, yeah, that's interesting because my favorite game of all time is Chrono Trigger, but that's not necessarily my favorite game to stream just because it feels like most people aren't into it. It is a slower game, and it's a slow game to watch instead of play. Scott says, drinking it all in now. I was just here to get my daily dose of rich. Well, thank you, Scott. Now everybody's quoting Scott lines. Didn't let you in. Oh, Killjoy says we've done Quest for Rent. Okay, so Chris and I did a live stream where we streamed ourselves watching the mobile version of the interactive adventure, which is just the interactive adventure as a single video. I don't think. Well, see, the problem is, and that's why we stopped making interactive adventures. We couldn't actually play the interactive adventure as it was meant to be played because they got rid of annotations years ago, which is why we started making the mobile versions of all of them so people could actually just watch them. Yeah, Marty, man, there's a way that we might be able to do it with cards, but it wouldn't quite work the same. And also because YouTube used to have ads on the side of videos, not like before and in the middle of videos. I feel like because YouTube puts like giant video ads before videos now, that like it kind of ruins the pacing of an interactive adventure, even if we were somehow able to get it to work for cards. So an interactive adventure is probably just not feasible in this day and age. But I mean, that doesn't mean that Chris and I couldn't try to like bring up all the videos and like do it manually maybe in a live stream. I don't know, but like we couldn't produce an interactive adventure these days. Yeah, exactly, Mega Shadow. Marty Man says, but you should probably do a version of a stream where you look at all the fails and or options. Yeah, maybe. Canner says, ever heard of Ottoman Empire history? I've heard that the Ottoman Empire has a history, but I can't say I've ever really looked into it that much. Chicken Nuggets, I guess, says, hi, bro. Hi, Chicken Nuggets, I guess. John Barnes says, hello. Cool. All right. Well, so we have 53%, 55% of the votes for FF7 and 45% for FF10. I want to make sure that everybody has voted. So I'm not sure. Let's see. I want to just make sure Marty Man, Nacho Taco, Killjoy, and if AK was here, and I don't think AK is here. Killjoy, Marty Man, Nacho Taco, have you guys voted? And what did you vote for? Specifically, I want to know Marty Man, AK, not well, if AK was here, Killjoy, and Nacho Taco. What game did you vote for? Did you vote for FF7 or FF10? I need to know. Marty Man says voted for FF7. Okay, yeah. Now, why, Marty Man? Why FF7? Is it because you just prefer it as a game over Final Fantasy X, or is it something you genuinely want to see me play? Just curious. Nacho Taco says, I voted for 10 because it's easier for a new person to digest story-wise. Mega Shadow says, voted for 10. Killjoy says, damn, I didn't vote because I don't know either of those games, but I guess I'll go 7. Son Goku says, would love to eventually see bloopers for Legacy. That's the thing about Legacy. We were under such a weird time crunch because we filmed some of it, and then a lot of it didn't get, like, it took like a year to film Legacy, and that's kind of the reason why I know we wouldn't really be able to do like a big project like that now, is because Legacy took like a year. If you guys remember, like we were doing like behind the scenes stuff a year before it even came out, because it takes so long to get everybody's schedules in a row and everything. But anyways, we were under a lot of weird time crunches, and long story short, I remember I didn't release bloopers for it because it just didn't seem like not to say that we didn't have fun making it, but it just seemed like we weren't really, Like we weren't really in the blooper mood, if that makes any sense. Like I could release like a minute of outtakes, but they wouldn't be that great. You know. Marty Man says, I guess it's because I like Cloud and Smash. Marty Man, have you ever played or watched a video of Final Fantasy VII? Canner says, I never played Final Fantasy, but I would go with 10. Yeah, the thing is, again, with 10, you have better graphics, you have voice acting, because I know that, like, if I'm going to go with Final Fantasy VII, I'd want to play the original, but I just feel like you guys might get bored of it. I mean, it has a great legacy, and it has, there are things that I love about Final Fantasy VII, but I'm going to be honest, the reason why Final Fantasy VII needed to be remade is because everybody knows the characters of Sephiroth. They know Cloud, but do they know those characters through like Kingdom Hearts and other things? Like, they're the game doesn't, frankly, the game doesn't hold up. I think Final Fantasy VIII holds up a lot better than Final Fantasy VII has. There's a lot of stuff in Final Fantasy VII that doesn't hold up. So I would be inclined to play the remake because I feel like the audience would genuinely enjoy watching me play through the remake more than watching me play the original. But I would say that I feel like Final Fantasy X is overall a much better experience than the Final Fantasy VII remake. It's not as good as Final Fantasy VII was when 7 came out, but it's the truth that Final Fantasy VII has not held up. Now, there's a difference between, like, what I would consider, like, timeless classic graphics and early 3D graphics. Like, early 3D graphics often do not hold up. Like, Final Fantasy VII looks pretty janky, versus a game like Final Fantasy VI even, which I feel still does hold up because it looks like it was one of the last 2D games. It was a fantastic looking late 16-bit Super Nintendo game, and it was made to look the best the Super Nintendo could look. And therefore, Final Fantasy VI still holds up today because you're getting you're getting the best presentation that the Super Nintendo could offer. Same thing with Chrono Trigger. Those are the best 2D looking games you're gonna get. Versus Final Fantasy VII, which is very early 3D polygons and doesn't hold up. Now, graphics don't really bother me. I could play Final Fantasy VII today and I would be fine, but it's mostly because I have the nostalgia for it. But we're talking about what other people would enjoy watching me play on this channel, and in my opinion, it's Final Fantasy X. Now, the reason why I made the poll today is because I wanted to see if it was going to be a landslide vote, and I'm ending the poll right now. But the thing is, it wasn't a landslide vote. At the end of the day, we got 23 votes and 52% voted for Final Fantasy X. Now, if like 75% or more of you had voted for Final Fantasy VII, then I would have played Final Fantasy VII. But if it was even 60% Final Fantasy VII, I probably still would have gone with Final Fantasy X. But the fact that it was so close the whole time, and then of course right now Final Fantasy X was ultimately the winner, I'm going to go with Final Fantasy X. So thank you for bearing with me as I solidified my decision to play Final Fantasy X. But you know what? Maybe if I finish Final Fantasy X in a decent enough time, I will play the Final Fantasy VII remake, because I do think that that would be cool to do a let's play of. Anyways. There should be some Final Fantasies available for the Switch, AJ. Hello, Dark Side. I'm good. Ha, very good joke, Canner. Canner says, what does Squall use when he has chapped lips? Lip balam, because Balam Garden. Nacho Tuka says, by the way, the title says just chatting with Rich. Are we not playing Final Fantasy VIII today? Well, maybe you missed the beginning of the stream, and that's okay. But I said at the beginning I will be playing Final Fantasy VIII today at 4:30 my time, Pacific Standard Time, which is in about one which is in about an hour and 40 minutes. So in about an hour and 40 minutes or something like that, I will be playing Final Fantasy VIII. So anyways, yeah, so I think that that's basically going to do it for our stream today, unless anybody had any other impertinent questions. I know this seemed like a really short whatever stream, but I really wanted to get another stream in today because I got to go do something, and then I'm going to come back for Final Fantasy VIII. Anyways, yeah, just, yeah, my day's going okay. Just want to check in with everybody and kind of hear your thoughts on Final Fantasy. There's a really good chance that I will finish Final Fantasy VIII today, but there's also a chance. There's also a chance that I will not finish. I really need to do the deep sea. It depends. I can do the deep sea. The deep sea side quest will get me the Guardian Forces, the summons of Eden and Bahamut. I can do that before the stream so that I already have them and we can just go ham on the final boss, or we can do a whole, because it would take a whole let's play maybe to do the Deep Sea Research Center. So you guys got to let me know now. Do you want the let's play today to be the Deep Sea Research Center, or should I goal to finish the game? I'm waiting for people like Killjoy and Nacho Taco and all those people. Canner says, it has been so long and your hair and beard have not turned it into white like an old man. Well, that's where you're wrong. As you can see, it's hard to see on the stream, but if you were seeing me in person, you'd see I actually have a lot of little white hairs sprinkled in here, and a little bit of white hair in here and on the sides. Scott Otter says, finish that shit. You can do it, bud. Killjoy says, I want to see the ending. Technically, Marty Man, there is a second episode to Fallout Elwood. But that's it. There was just 2 episodes. Okay. Killjoy wants to see the ending, so... Alright, I think I will go... Well, I'm going to start doing the Research Center, but if I don't finish the Research Center by 4:30, then we're starting with the Research Center. Or in the middle of the Research Center when we start the stream today. Or whatever. We'll see. I'll try my best, Killjoy and everybody. But anyways, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you for watching the stream. And we'll see you at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time in roughly an hour and 38 minutes. All right. Bye.